Have you heard about the Sony ZV-E10? It's probably Sony's most popular mirrorless camera, leading their whole camera sales by around 48% ever since it was released 3 years ago back in 2021. When I first got it, I was immediately blown away by its capabilities, especially considering its price and size. But what about now? Is the Sony ZV-E10 still holding up 3 years later? In this video, we're actually unveiling either if this is the right camera for you in 2024 or if you should wait for a possible and, well, very rumored Sony ZV-E10 Mark II. So stick around and find out. Hi guys, my name is Tiago, hope you all doing well, and let's talk about this tiny little thing right here. Now, when looking at something like this, the first thing that comes to mind as a photographer and filmmaker is no one's ever taken me seriously if I show up with that thing. Yeah, no judgments, I've been there myself, but the truth is I can pair footage from this thing right here with footage from my A7IV and I can barely tell the difference. As you can see, one of these footages is from the A7IV and the other one is from the Sony ZV-E10, and if you notice any kind of difference, just let me know in the comments below. You've seen it with your own eyes. This camera pairs up quite nice with Sony A7IV, so it means that you can use this as a big cam for Sony A7IV, perhaps A7S III, and the list goes on. Now, the Sony ZV-E10 retails at the time of recording of this video for around $698 for the body only or $100 more with the kit lens, which is a 16 to 50mm f3.5 to 5.6 and in my opinion has a fair quality. It features a 24 megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor, which is actually the same as on the A6400 and A6600, and this means that even though this is a vlogging video-centric camera, you can also get pretty amazing photos with it. And don't forget about the stunning oversampled 4K footage. But having the same sensor as the A6400 comes with the well-known jello effect when it comes to rolling shutter performance. So if you are performing some fast movement with your camera, this might be an issue. It can shoot up to 4K 25 FPS with no crop or 4K 30 FPS with a significant 1.23 times crop. You also get 120 FPS in 1080p for slows, a highly reliable autofocus system with eye recognition, two 3.5mm headphone and microphone jack ports, and you can also live stream directly from your camera up to 720p via USB-C connection. Now, the Sony ZV-E10 also gets Sony Cinema picture profiles, of which there are 10 different options, including S-Log2, S-Log3 and HLG. These picture profiles offer the ability to shoot in a low contrast look for better grading in post. But do keep in mind that this is an 8-bit camera and S-Log3 or HLG footage are more likely to fall apart when heavy grading in post when compared with 10-bit cameras. It doesn't have in-body image stabilization, but it still helps you keeping your footage stable with some electronic magic. Plus, if you have Sony lenses that come with OSS technology, aka optical steady shot, they work together like a dream team. You can pick between two different digital stabilization modes, active or standard, active being the go-to mode if you want to combine digital stabilization with optical stabilization, but it does come with a significant 1.44 times crop. When it comes to the body, it's a very small plastic body, you can actually fit it into your pockets. And it's not the most comfortable camera in the world when it comes to ergonomics. It doesn't have a viewfinder and it doesn't feature any kind of heat dissipation system. But it does have, though, a fully articulated touch sensitive display, which is awesome by the way. But now let's drop the sheets for a little bit and focus on real use case scenarios. I use this camera mostly on interviews to get a different angle, YouTube videos, behind the scenes videos, and of course for my travels. And I did use it a few times to photograph not only in my travels but also on professional work. And I gotta confess that if I didn't own an A7 IV, I would use this same camera right here for all my professional work, and I don't think I would have any kind of issues with that. This was made to be a small, cheap, light camera that you can fit anywhere and take anywhere while also delivering a stunning image quality, and I think this camera serves its purpose perfectly. I do think that this camera lacks a few things. For example, I would like to see more buttons and dials to customize my settings, and I am someone that shoots manual all the time. I've actually found an easy way around it, but it would be nice anyways to have more buttons and dials. The rolling shutter performance, well, that one is awful. I would recommend you to avoid action shots at all costs because, well, it has a lot of jello effect. If possible, try to use this camera always on a tripod or a gimbal. It's the way to get the best out of it. And when it comes to the viewfinder, well, I don't really see that as a problem because I have a viewfinder on my A7 IV that I never use, mainly because it's too small. I mean, with such a small thing, can you even tell if you're in focus or if the composition is right? And when it's too sunny, I just put my hands like this and it's okay. But if you think about it, a viewfinder would be one more thing consuming the battery, and in that regard, this camera runs on the old Sony NP FW50 batteries, which are not quite famous for their battery life. I had a Sony A7 original and the performance of these batteries there were awful, but surprisingly on this camera they perform quite nicely, and I do think it's because of the fact that it doesn't have any kind of a viewfinder. Back when I bought this camera, I was actually looking for a low budget B cam to my A7 IV, and everything pointed to the A6400. But luckily I was short on budget, and that's when the ZV-E10 came up. Initially I wasn't too convinced, but then I checked the spec sheet and I realized it's practically the same thing. Plus you get a fully articulated display. I really like that word. Fully articulated display, and I really like it because it's very useful. And also you get more battery life because you don't have a viewfinder, and the autofocus performance is, well, it's a little better. The A6400 only has face detect while this one is eye detect, so that's all the deal. The fact that it doesn't have heat dissipation hasn't been a problem either. I've been using this camera for 2 years now and it overheated on me twice, both of those times due to the extreme heat conditions that we were shooting in. And also, I've heard that Ulanzi makes these portable heat dissipators that work really nice. Now, another thing that I would love to see on this camera is 4K 60. That way I could record my smooth B-roll in 4K instead of 1080, which is not the strongest resolution on this camera either. But let's face the facts. With the price of this camera, what you get is incredible. I mean, you can use this as a B cam for an A7 IV, A6400, A7S III, you name it. So for the final conclusions, I'd say that if you are someone looking for a great camera to start your filmmaking or even photography's journey, if you are a vlogger or a content creator that doesn't go too much in depth with your color grades, or even if you are a professional looking for a cheap B camera that you can use on your interviews, behind the scenes shots and so on, well, I'd say that this camera is more than enough and it is indeed still worth it in 2024. But on the other hand, if your needs require things like 4K 60 or above, 10-bit recording, a good heat dissipation system, a better rolling shutter performance, or even more customizable buttons and dials, well, in that case the Sony ZV-E10 might not be the right camera for you. But I have wild rumors about a possible Sony ZV-E10 Mark II that might be coming out very soon, and those rumors include things like 10-bit recording, 4K up to 120 FPS, a better rolling shutter performance, and so much more. So let me know in the comments below if you wanna hear all about those rumors, and also don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel if you find my content was of any value. So without any further ado, I see you in the next one.